No whammies. There we go. We are live. So welcome everybody to Money Monday. We've got a special guest host with us today too. So I'm John Cleaver at Black Swan Money. We've got Wendy. Say hi, Wendy.
What's up, everybody?
And then we've got our guest. He was coming in as a guest host, but he's actually now, I guess, one of our guest stars today, Mr. Mike Wilson. Mike, take a minute or two and kind of tell us about your background.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for the invite coming on. I've got a background, kind of grew up in the mortgage business, kind of worked my way through the mortgage, real estate, investment business, running mortgage companies, realty companies, title companies. And then, when you get good at anything and evaluating companies, you get the opportunity to buy and invest in a lot more companies. So did that a couple dozen times in different industries around the country, literally some of them international, and then started doing some work kind of as a financial strategist, and then still doing some work. Still got condo projects that we acquired pre-2008. Perfect time to acquire those. And now with the crazy real estate market, those are finally moving. So have always had my hand in a lot of different pots.
Good deal. Good deal. Mike and I have known each other for many, many moons. Very smart guy. So I thought, man, let's kind of expand the conversation today. And today we're talking about some exciting stuff, cryptocurrency. Obviously that's all in the news and everything as far as, hey, I'm a crypto millionaire. I just fired my boss. And then a week later, it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. What's going on? So, we're going to talk a little bit about the ins and outs of crypto. We're not going to go into a big, hey, this is what you need to buy. Again, this is for educational purposes only, just to put that out there. But you should walk away today with a really good baseline understanding of what it is, what it isn't, and be able to answer that question. Does it fit into your strategy as far as building wealth? And kind of add our own personal thoughts and questions around crypto. And really kind of add into that. So are either of you doing crypto? I mean,
I am not. It's one of those things. I'm glad we're having the conversation because I hear such mixed thoughts on it. And I go down these like rabbit holes of like ideas around it. And I don't know, I've just never invested. We started to look at it once pretty heavily. And then it's like I'm one of those people, if I don't understand it, it scares me. I move away. But my ex-husband was like, you need to invest in the Dogecoin or something. Sure. And he's like crushing it right now with that, or maybe not. I don't even know.
He was probably really excited a couple of weeks ago, and now he's probably like, "Oh my gosh!" But when he acquired it. So.
But I noticed yesterday. So I use Venmo. Like my clients pay me through Venmo, and I use Venmo a ton for just transferring money to my kids and things like that. But I just noticed they have a crypto section now that's brand new. So you can click on it, learn about crypto, and actually buy it straight from the Venmo app. It's crazy. So, but no, I'm excited to learn. I have not invested in it.
And what about you, Mike?
Yeah, I've got, my toes in the water a little bit with it. Where Wendy, where you said, oh, if I don't understand something, I won't invest in it. That's phenomenal advice. The only difference is then I'll go read like 60 books on it, try to learn everything I can, and then, figure out, the pros, the cons, because there's nothing, as John and I have been in the financial industry forever, we've learned there's nothing perfect. Everything has advantages and disadvantages, and, and crypto is no different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's one of the things. That's a good point, Mike. I mean, you look at, you've got certain groups out there or gurus that they lock onto their one thing, right? And that's the best thing. That's the silver bullet for everybody. And I've always taken an approach, much like you just said, of, there's pros and cons to everything. You've got to do your homework. You got to do your due diligence, or else you're just, you're following along and hoping it all works out. But like yourself, I've got my toe in the water with crypto. I had a conversation a couple months ago with some people, and I've looked at it in the past because you hear about all these people, they're right making all this money and this, that, or the other. And I had purchased some Bitcoin when it was at 8,000. And then when it hit, I think it was like 25, 26, I got out because I'm like, okay, it's never been this high at that point. It had never been that high. And I was totally fine with it. Right. It was one of those that, hey, I made a profit or
You're
whatever.
totally fine with tripling your money.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's one of those that, but you see it go jump up to 64. And, oh my gosh, but it's now down. I think I checked it yesterday or today. It's 32,000 or somewhere in the 30s range. And you've got everybody, that jump on all this. And there's, Dogecoin is obviously a biggie, but like I didn't understand it. And I was a very slow adopter to it. It was one of those, I'm like, okay, my question is what makes it valuable, right? What makes crypto valuable? And you look at the big answer is because we all say it's valuable, right? And it's like I equate it to more of forex, foreign exchange on steroids because it moves so rapidly up and down. But the big question I had, and I guess this could be considered some of the cons, is there's really nothing backing it. There's not gold or silver backing it or anything like that. Unlike, stocks or funds or things like that, there's no company value backing it. It's just because, you and I, hey, Mike, I think this is valuable and let's convince Wendy that it's valuable and let's see if she can buy some. But I mean, obviously there's a lot more to it than that. I'm not trying to, I guess I am oversimplifying it somewhat, but that's really the case. I mean, what are your guys' thought on the determining value on that? What are you guys, coming from Wendy, not having done any of it, and Mike, you and I just kind of sticking our toe in the water. What are your thoughts on that?
On what makes it valuable?
Well, yeah, the value perception, or
Well, I mean, again, I posted on Facebook, I don't know, a couple months ago that the first guy to have utilization in Bitcoin exchanged like 1 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas, and I mean, because back then when they first had them, it was like 1 Bitcoin was worth 2 pizzas, $20 or whatever. Yeah. That same guy just spent $120,000 for 2 pizzas if he would have held those coins.
Yeah.
But I mean, you and I have been to Vegas. We've been to, I mean, I see all your tags hanging there in the background, all the times we've been to Vegas, and you walk through the casinos and you're like, what's that game? Yeah. And we don't even know what the game is, but I'll throw $20 on it. And like, okay, wait, it's like a Vegas vacation. Like, did you take my money? Did I win? Did I lose? Most people don't even know the rules of those games, but they're like, oh, no, here's the way we're going to play this. I'm going to give you 3 cards. You're going to throw 2 dice at me from across the room. If you hit me, you get $20. That's a lot of these Dogecoins, Bitcoins, Ethereums, CYTTs. Most people have no idea really what it is. They're just looking for the next game or the next thing that they can trade and hope that they pick the one that goes up. Because they feel they've missed the boat with Bitcoin. They feel like Bitcoin's taken off. I missed it. I got to go find the next one that's trading at 3 cents. And hopefully that's the one that goes up. And that's really just gambling.
Yeah. Yeah. Wendy, what about you?
So, I'm not to keep bringing up my ex-husband, but he also does something in that world where I don't understand the technology side of it, but like the mining and all that. But anyway, he does artwork. And so there's this new form of like artwork that's digital, that there's one authentic piece, blah, blah, kind of in that same world. And so I was kind of like, okay, so that's what makes it valuable, is that like people saying kind of like a fine piece of art. Like I have this one, like there's no duplicating this one thing that I have, this one, whatever. So, but kind of like art, right? Who determines the value? It's the buyer, right? Really? Yeah. Why was the Mona Lisa worth whatever versus, whoever, the guy down the street that can paint just as beautifully, right? So it's I mean, that's the only way I know how to understand it. It's just the value of what people are willing to pay. I mean, I guess
that perceived value.
Yeah, the perceived value. So, and I think again, that's why I haven't done much with it, because I don't see the value. I'm like, I'd rather have a gold or silver, right, backing, but.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those that doing the homework again, like Mike consumes the book. I go out there and just start grinding and finding out as much as I can about something before I start putting my effort into, especially my money into it. But Bitcoin came about, I think, in the like 2009, somewhere there. I don't know the exact date, so you Bitcoin people don't slam me. But it's one of those that it came out. There's a limited supply of them. And the big attraction was, hey, it gets you out of fiat currency, which, Mike and I, you've had a number of conversations on what fiat currency the risks there are. And it could protect your money somewhat like gold and silver, Wendy. And there was the blockchain backs, and they talked about security. It can't be, it's stolen or anything like that. Well, that's not so much the case anymore with some of these coins and things like that. But it's that perceived value of, that. And then as more and more came online, and Bitcoin was kind of the original player. But like you said, Mike, it's, hey, it's 32,000 or whatever a coin now. I can't afford that. I've got a few bucks. What can I do? So all of these other coins start coming online. You've got Ethereum, you've got Litecoin. But, I went out and just did a little bit of homework. I went out to the Google and looked at Wikipedia. And Wikipedia had, I think, 26 different coins listed just there. But, you go out to some of the platforms that are out there. I use Gemini. That's not an endorsement. It's just, I went out there to see what they had. And they have 46 different coins listed. Dogecoins, obviously, they just brought that online. You can also go out to Robinhood, I think, and do some crypto there. But you start having people talk about, hey, I want to be the next coin millionaire, right? The crypto millionaire. And there's people making a lot of money at it. But a lot of it is, like you said, Mike, I equate it to the Vegas trip.
Yeah.
I go out and put $1,000 on, Black 13 on the roulette wheel, and it hits. Boom, baby, I'm living large. But if it doesn't, now I know there's some people out there that can follow the candlesticks and things like that and really start to do it. But the one of the big concerns I have, and we'll kind of go into some of the challenges or the cons with crypto, is the volatility piece. I mean, when you've got Dogecoin, prime example, was going up in anticipation for, Elon Musk is a big fan of obviously Dogecoin, and it was going up and up in anticipation of his appearance on Saturday Night Live a few weeks ago, right? And then he got on, did a skit. He said something about it was a joke or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what he said, but it went through the floor, and it's still it's starting to rebound a little bit. It went from, I think, 62, 64 cents down to, maybe even hit 70. I'm not sure, but went down to the low 30s. I think it's trading at 32, 33 cents right now. And so that's that volatility piece. And yes, you can make some money, just like Bitcoin, jammed up to high mid 60s or whatever, and then it all of a sudden now it's trading at 32,000. That's a 50-60% loss in a matter of a week or two, right?
Yeah, but think about that for a second, John. Let me jump in.
Yeah,
like you just said, there's a lot of people making a ton of money, and then you have this big loss. So if you buy a stock at $50 and it goes up in value to $100, how much did you make?
$50.
You made nothing. You own a stock.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But everybody will say that. They're like, no, I made $50. It's like, no, you've made zero.
Yeah.
The only guy that makes $50 is the guy who sells it.
Yeah.
And I'm not selling it because, baby, come on, Black 13, this is going to go higher.
Exactly. Well, that's why I jumped out of Bitcoin at 25, right?
And so you actually made money.
Yeah.
But the guy that says, I'm going to take it from 25 to 60, he goes, oh, man, look how much I just lost. It's like, you didn't lose anything. It's still at 36 and you bought in at 8. Yeah. You just didn't make potentially what you could make. And so all these people who were buying Dogecoin right before the press release, before Elon gets on Saturday Night Live, that's like insider trading. Like, I'm going to do some insider trading. I think there's a big announcement getting ready to be made. And so everybody all over social media jacks it up. They manipulate it. They're like, oh my gosh, the greatest leverage ever is FOMO, the fear of missing out. So everybody jumps into Dogecoin at 45 or 50 because they think it's going to go up even higher. And people are posting on social media trying to drive it. And then it goes the other way. And those people are like, I literally talked to a guy that sold some real estate. I was doing an annual review for a client. He goes, oh yeah, I just sold this rental property. It was worth 110 last year. It was worth 140 this year. So he sold it at 140. I said, awesome, man. Did you pay off that debt? Did you get rid of the mortgage on the other house? He goes, no, I took $40,000. I bought Bitcoin. I said, at what price did you buy? He goes, 50,000.
Yeah.
So he's at a loss right now.
Only if he sells.
Only if he sells.
That's right. That's right. That's another one. It's it works both ways. But yeah, then that's the thing. I mean, it going back to your Vegas analogy, I equate it to, if you want to put some money in Bitcoin, treat it like, Vegas. Now, and I know there are people out there, oh no, it's a lot more serious. I get that. But for most of us out there, if I go to Vegas and I have a couple grand or a couple hundred or 20 grand, whatever the case, whatever my number is, and I'm okay with losing, yeah, it's going to be a bad day, but it's not going to be the end of the world.
I was going to say, if your number's 20 grand, John, we got to talk. If I go to Vegas and I lose 20 grand, I'm thinking, Wendy, I don't know who our co-host is here, but he's rolling in a different crowd than you and I think.
Well, it's one of those, it's going to be a bad day, but it's not the end of the world, right? It's not like, okay, now I can't retire or something like that. And that's a great point. So, Wendy, anything to add on that?
Not with that specifically, but one thing I do, what's made me hesitant about the whole thing is, for instance, I got a message yesterday, I blocked her, so I don't know if I'll still be able to see it.
Is she dating your ex?
Yeah, hold on one second, Wendy. We've got some people watching too. If you've got some questions or comments and you're watching this live, please chime in. We can see some of your posts. If you've got a question about it or whatever, throw it out there. If not, I'll be posting some follow-up in the feed afterwards, so you can kind of check on some of the links we talk about. But ask questions out there too, viewers. Go ahead.
Let us know too if you invest in any of these cryptos. But I get a message from somebody that's randomly, and this is almost every day, you guys. I'm a senior account manager in Bitcoin. Have you heard of Bitcoin before? No. I'm like, what? Anyway, but there's so many companies out there trying to manage your cryptocurrency, and I'm a network marketer. I'm a fan of network marketing. I've looked at the network marketing models for cryptocurrency, and I feel like I really am very hesitant about it. I feel like because the ones I've looked at, and I don't know if you guys have looked at them or if you've had people approach you about it or what your thoughts are on it, but this is part of what's made me hold back so much. Is there's so many people, like this woman, my conversation, she's like, I make $10,000 a day, sends me these bogus screenshots of PayPal, whatever. It's so gimmicky. I'm like, you're probably not even a real person. There's so much of that fraud type stuff going on. And then this network marketing piece where, we looked seriously at, joining this company that does Ethereum, but I realized you buy in and you just buy a spot that has no value, which is, I think, the definition of a Ponzi scheme. I don't know.
Well, one of them,
no value. And then if you get someone in at whatever level, then you get the coins in the value that they come in at.
Got it.
So basically, they're buying your coins when you recruit them, and they get nothing except the spot. And I'm like, isn't this I don't know. It all makes me very leery.
No, and so there was a company out there called OneCoin that kind of had something similar, and it got shut down because it was a Ponzi. Now, a lot of people get that confused. Oh, network marketing, aren't those Ponzi's, or pyramids, aren't those Ponzi's? No, those are business models, legit business models. A Ponzi scheme is illegal. That's where it goes awry and it does something there's not really a product or something like that. It's almost like that old envelope game, right? I'll put $20 in an envelope, send it to 5 people, and I'm going to get all these people to send me $20. And so you've got to be very leery. And it's the same thing in Forex. You get a lot of people that are trying to, bilk people out of money. And, there's a lot of different platforms. Legitimately, you can go and buy, different cryptocurrencies. Like I said, Gemini is one of them. There's a lot of them out there. You can go out and Google, top 5 platforms to acquire cryptocurrency. And I've also seen, I was just out in San Diego this last week. We stopped into a truck stop, I kid you not, and they had a machine where you could actually buy crypto at the machine. And I'm like, okay, is it going to spit out coin? I mean, what how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know that I would even do that. But there's a lot of legitimate. Now, what you can't do is a lot of at least you can't do it yet. But like your traditional brokerage houses out there, Fidelity's, TD Ameritrade, those kind of companies, you can't go out and take your 401k and go out and buy a crypto, right? Unless you do a self-directed IRA. Then that's, and Mike, you and I've had conversations about that. That's kind of, all right, you're completely on your own, go do it, which there's a whole bunch of inherent risk on that anyway. But that's one of the big challenges is, going back to the cons is volatile as hell, right? Some wrong tweet goes awry and all of a sudden it's, you're there. Then what you had just talked about, Wendy, is you've got a lot of scammers out there that are trying to, hey, this, that, or the other. And unfortunately, they just start texting you and blowing you up. And a lot of people get bilked out of that. And then I haven't even started talking about taxes. We'll talk about taxes here in a minute. But those are some of the challenges. What are some of the other challenges you guys think is involved with crypto? Since we're on that topic.
I mean, you've got obviously, the big one, which is a risk that we talk about as financial strategists, is legislative risk. Mm-hmm. So literally this morning, I'm looking at my phone. It's like 5 a.m, and in the day's feeds, it was that the Biden administration is going to start imposing heavier regulations on the crypto market. Literally, I just typed in Bitcoin regulation. Bitcoin's rising popularity will lead to more regulation, says Risk Bank. U.S. Treasury calls for stricter cryptocurrency compliance. As Bitcoin enters market mainstream, regulation appears imminent. And it's exactly because of what you just said, is there's so many scammers out there, and you can manipulate this, and it doesn't fall under the same securities regulations that, I mean, if the old joke, or from the movie Wall Street, Blue Horseshoe loves Endicott steel. They would put stuff out back before regulation came up in the 20s, before the Great Depression. These rich bankers would buy up a company stock and then leak it to the news newspapers. They would print about it. All the regular Joes would go in and buy it, and then the rich bankers would dump it, bankrupt the company, and they would walk away with all the money. That's literally what's going on through social media with a lot of these cryptos. And, unfortunately, unfortunately, it's not regulated, but I also fortunately, it's not regulated because, again, a fool and their money are easily parted. If people are going to jump on that train, then they kind of get what they get.
Yeah. And that's the case, right? It's one of those, it's like you still don't know what's going on legislatively. Even taking it beyond that, India's tried to outlaw crypto internally within their country. And they fought it, came back. So now they're trying to regulate it. They're also creating their own government sponsored crypto using the rupee. But that kind of defeats the whole purpose of crypto in itself, to pull away from that government control. China, and this was part of the reason that Bitcoin kind of took a dive. You had a combination of again, Elon Musk saying he was no longer going to accept Bitcoin for Tesla. And then China just banned financial payments from accepting crypto as well, or financial institutions from accepting crypto as well. So it could happen, overnight. And that's the other big draw, is that legislative risk. So
yeah, that's been one of the things too that's held me back, is I saw that they were trying to outlaw it in India, and it's like, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen in a 24-hour period with all of that. So
Yep. And exactly. That's the other big thing too, is it literally is a 24-hour deal. It's 24/7. It does not stop. Right.
It trades on Memorial Day weekend. It trades every day, every
second of the day. And it's so that's one of those things for, the average Joe out there, or Joan, whatever you want to call it, to be able to monitor that. You've got to have, whether it's buy, sell, or whatever triggers or things like that, or monitoring on your, alerts on your phone or whatnot, so you can trade it like that. And again, typically that's a reactive rather than proactive. You're not ahead of the curve. So it's one of those. And Mike out of Tennessee just chimed in. His company actually allows us, so it's becoming more and more mainstream, does allow crypto in their traditional IRA as well as Roth. Got to have a minimum investment kind of thing. And that's the other thing. This isn't going away. It's becoming more and more mainstream. And I think that's why you've got two approaches. China, we're going to outlaw it because we can't really figure it out. Maybe US, how can I monitor and control it so I can tax the hell out of it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about taxes in just a second too, but I don't see it going away. As a matter of fact, it's growing and growing. You know, I talked about Wiki had 26 different cryptos. Gemini, the platform I'm on, has 41 different cryptos that you can actually buy, and it varies. And all those different cryptos are designed, and this is part of one of the cons too. They're designed for different aspects. You know, the Bitcoin, they're limited. It was designed as a currency replacement. Then you had Ethereum, you have Dogecoin. Dogecoin was literally started as a joke, right? That's not me saying it. That's literally, they were kind of just, let's have some fun with this. And then it took off and created, you know, kind of has a life of its own now. So it's definitely, you know, the wild, wild west. But you still see, especially a couple of weeks ago, quit my job because I'm a Bitcoin millionaire, or, you know, I'm a crypto millionaire, so I'm going to do this, or I just bought this big house and things like that. But it's the Wild West. I don't know. You guys agree with that, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, there's a guy that's a pretty well-known financial guy by the name of Tom Hegna. He's been on PBS and all those kind of shows, and he came out and he was like, "I was wrong. I'm wrong. I was wrong. I said it was a joke. I said this is just a fad." And he said, "It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So you need to learn about it. You need to understand it." And he said his recommendation is put 1% of your portfolio in it.
Yeah.
And at that, because he goes, at 1% of Bitcoin, even going in and buying Bitcoin, if you bought it at 60,000, because there's a limited number of coins, you know, people like Robert Kiyosaki, all these guys say it will be over $1 million a coin. And if you only have 1% of your portfolio and it does go to that amount, you're going to have a healthy chunk of money. And if it doesn't go up the same way, it's 1% of your portfolio. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things too, just for everybody out there, if you're not familiar with Bitcoin, you don't have to actually, you know, buy a whole Bitcoin, right? You can buy a fractional piece of whatever they call it. But you can buy fractions or portions of this. So what they do is, if you've got, you know, say you want to put away $300 or $500 or whatever the case may be, you can put that towards Bitcoin, and you own a fraction of Bitcoin, of a Bitcoin. So it's not like you have to go, they're not going to send you a gold coin that you see on social media, and, you know, you don't get that and put it in your safe or whatever. It's all electronic, but it's pretty fascinating. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's gonna be gone anytime soon. I think it is here to stay. I think it's a matter of we're in that it's brand new, so we're trying to figure all this out. Robert Kiyosaki, you know, I'm a big fan of his. He's you know, a buy and hold. He buys it, doesn't, you know, sell it or get rid of it, and that's going into kind of the taxes. We kind of wrap up. We're going into our time, but you know, one of the big implications is taxation. I don't know if anybody noticed on the new IRS 1040 form, there's a question on there now that asks you, have you acquired, or I forget what the full question is, have you acquired any Bitcoin or anything like that? IRS has come out with a couple of statements saying, you know, this is what that means. You know, they're not really worried about you buying it. It's all about, did you sell it and pull it out of your virtual wallet? Because if you did that, guess what? They want their money, right? The IRS, THE IRS, the IRS spells theirs. They want to figure out how to get theirs, you know, out of your pocket. So that's a huge concern too. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. You know, as people are going out, hey, I cashed out my Bitcoin at 64, went out and bought this car or this house or whatever the case may be. You know, they're going to have huge tax implications later on. And it's just like any other investment. You have to be really aware of what's going on. If you hold that money, especially for less than a year, you're going to get taxed as income, right? So I don't know, you know, what are your thoughts on that, Wendy or Mike?
Well, I'll just say, because I just filled out a whole bunch of tax forms the other day. They wanted me, I had to fill out like a list of my my virtual wallets. So like Venmo, PayPal. So it's not just Bitcoin either. Like they're looking now to go, are you making income through your virtual wallet that you're, you know, isn't coming through the traditional bank, or maybe, you know, it's almost like what cash, right? Like under the table type stuff. And the virtual wallet has almost been that for some business owners.
Yeah, it has.
And now, like, now they're asking for all that information. So it had for any cryptocurrency as well. So I saw that as well.
Yeah. Mike, anything to add on that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's it's taxes, it's money. I mean, you and I have had this conversation. If I've got a bag of silver that I bought for $5 an ounce, and I go down to the local pawn shop and I sell it for $25 an ounce, nobody's reporting that as tax. But I mean, the IRS has a specific definition of what is income.
That was a hypothetical, right? You didn't actually.
Oh yeah, no. I didn't spend $5 when I bought my silver. I bought it for $4.65. So
okay.
Yeah, totally hypothetical. But income. This is the whole point. Is what is crypto? We've been talking all about it, but what is it? We just said it's this virtual something, potentially a store of value, an exchange of goods or services, but it's not income. And the IRS hasn't figured out how to call it income, how to track it. And if they can't track it and call it income, then they can't tax it, because real estate is taxed specifically under short-term or long-term capital gains, depending on how long you hold it. Same thing with investments. Is it a short-term? Is it a long-term capital gain? They haven't put crypto in this world yet.
Well, they've started this year, so that's
what I'm saying. They're starting. They figure they're going to be missing out on too much revenue if everybody starts trading this. And if everybody's trading this and they pull money out of the stock market to trade this, then what happens to the stock market?
Yeah, the tax revenue from the stock market.
Right. They'll start losing the taxes that are easier to be tracked, and you'll start seeing big, huge declines in the stock market as money flows out of it.
Yeah. Well, but that's also why I'm a firm believer that this is around to stay now, because, the U.S. government is figuring out ways to keep it viable, but just make sure that they get their cut, so to speak, to use air quotes again. But it's kind of crazy when you think of what kind of regulation, what kind of monitoring is going to be taking place with that. So I'm not a big, I'm not a big fan of government monitoring at all. But they're going to have to in order to keep track of that, because everything's digital, right? It's like that hypothetical scenario you used of I paid $5, I sold it for $25, I made a profit, but nobody knows about it, right? Because it's not tracked anywhere. This is every little piece is digitally tracked on every transaction, whether it's exchanging or selling or whatever the case may be, liquidating. But it's a huge factor to consider when you go out and you have. Hey, if I just doubled my money or tripled my money in Bitcoin and I've had it for less than a year and I go out and sell it, that's income, folks. That's going to get taxed as income, and it's a serious issue if you don't report it. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody watching this, if you've got that 1040 form, that one question, usually you get a penalty and a fine, this and the other, but that one's like serious. It's a felony on that one question if you lie on that. But it's, I don't know what kind of repercussions, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that's pretty much our time. We've gone a little bit over, and I know we could talk about this for another hour. But when you're looking at crypto, again, just kind of surmise, and I'll let everybody jump in here. Look at it as though it's my fun money. I'm going to get involved in it, but I'm going to get involved at a small scale. I'm not going to cash out my retirement and go buy a coin and hope it all works out, right? Because I'm going to be a millionaire. Because it's very volatile, very risky. And you've got to do your homework on each of the multitude of coins that are out there, and why are they value, and why do I think that they're going to increase? And do your homework, and then use a platform. Don't go out there if you get a text, don't reply and say, yeah, I'll buy through you, or at a truck station or a gas station in San Diego somewhere. There's a lot of different platforms, but it all boils down to do your homework going in, have an exit strategy, and do your homework coming out of it. Okay, Mike, Wendy, anything to add on that?
I just I stick with Wendy's attitude of don't buy, sell, or invest in things you don't understand. If something's super volatile, then you better understand it even better, because it's moving too quick for the average person. And so read the books. Don't reply to the text. Do your homework. If you want this to be part of your portfolio, do the homework. It's money. You worked hard for it. It'd be silly to just lose it.
Yes. Wendy?
I like that advice. I haven't had the time to do the homework, so I'm just going to stand back just for a little longer.
Well, no, that's the thing, right? You haven't had time to do the homework, and most of us have it, right? Because we're living life. I got kids to take to soccer or baseball or whatever, right? I've got to go and do this, or going out to dinner. But again, going back to what I said earlier, it goes on 24/7, whether you're watching it or not. So it's very risky. So again, hopefully that was some good one-on-one information for everybody. I want to thank the people that were on and the people that chimed in with the comments and whatnot. If you do have a question, we're going to post this video up. Put a comment below. We'll respond as well. And I want to make sure everybody has a great day. We'll be back next Tuesday on Money Moves with a different topic to help you make some money moves for you and your family. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.